Hello, my name is Andrei Ognean, and this is my knowledge clip on theories and models within crowd management. First of all, let's start with the layer model. So, what is the layer model actually, and what does it do? So, the layer model helps understand and map out the touch points that the client interacts with from the moment they wake up to the moment that they are listening to the performance at the event. Now, what does this actually mean in practical terms? Well, it's basically the consumer's journey from bed to beer, which starts with influencing, which is from when they wake up to when they leave their home, from when going on to steering, from when they leave their home to getting to the venue, entrance, from getting to the venue to getting inside the venue, and then, of course, the event itself, of course. The layer model is also sometimes called the fun lane model, of course. So, first of all, influence. So, just out of bed. This step mainly comprises what the customer does before they leave their own home. And that could be, of course, social media, because, of course, you wake up. First thing you do is check your social media. If you're going to an event, you're going to check if the venue posted anything, if the artist posted anything, the band, the promoters, of course. And this can be done, of course, through Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever people use nowadays, Facebook also, I guess. Uh, and then, of course, there's the communication, which venues can do in many different ways through their website, social media, as I mentioned again, or through ticket information, like the example from Podium 13 in the far right corner: date, time, stage, location, and tickets. Of course, you might influence your client's choice of clothes. Maybe if the event is themed, they want to dress like Shrek for Shrek Rave, or of course, maybe put something on that's appropriate to the genre style. You might influence their departure time, of course, through how Ahoy Rotterdam does it in the far right corner down, showing exactly that's influencing the transport choice and the departure time, because as you can see, there's different choices of vehicles, but public transport is the first and the pre-selected one, which is a very subliminal suggestion, of course. And underneath, there's also a schedule with all the public transport choices you could make to arrive at the venue before the event starts. Of course, there's also the friend group and the other attendance members. If there's maybe a pre-event happening, artist meetup or whatever, people probably are going to be interested in attending that also, and that might influence their behavior also. There's also food. If people eat or don't before they attend your venue, that also very much depends if you have food at your own venue, of course. If you have food, maybe encourage them not to eat, and then you can make greater revenues. And if you don't have food, maybe encourage them to eat before so they don't get drunk at the venue itself. And of course, pre-drinks, which is very much a cultural thing nowadays with the increased prices of alcohol and other beverages everywhere. Then there's steering, leave the house, get to the venue. How do you do this? Well, basically, you have to get some way of transport. There could be public transport, cars, of course. You get a taxi, you walk, you take a bike. All of them are valid. That's why you have a modal split to determine exactly how many percentages are coming, what kind of ways. Of course, for each mode of transport, you have to take into account the impact that masses of people would have on it. Public transport might get clogged. Traffic might get very heavy, bar to bar. Crossings might get clogged also. Cars can't cross anymore because there's a constant flow of people crossing. If there's any accidents, or if there's any public works happening, you have to let your audience know to be able to avoid and circumnavigate that. Also, another important thing is how the time of the event, of course, because if you're everybody's coming at 5 o'clock to your event and people are leaving work at 5 o'clock, that's going to be clogging the city up, because conflicting flows of traffic, so many more people on the road, the roads aren't built to resist this anymore, of course. And if the event is big enough, things like this can even manifest on a regional level, of course, if the events are huge. For example, the national team of the Netherlands playing, and then everybody from across the Netherlands will be taking trains to see the team play and whatever not. That will impact the region. Of course, you have to take into account the impact of all of these people on the infrastructure and the areas that they're going to be circulating through. Then there's the entrance, of course. They've just arrived basically and they want to get in as fast as possible. You have to take into account queues, how they interact with the venue, and that's basically how they interact with security and ticketing, if the people are nice, if they inspire safety. You have to take into account people flows, how they flow towards the venue, where they're coming from, the routes that they're going to be taking, and how they are signaled. Because if you design some special routes for them, how would they know where those routes are if you don't let them know? There's also taxi and kiss and ride. You have to have this designated service zones for those because those are a bit lengthier processes, of course. And of course, there's also the parking lot. How do they get in and how they get from the parking lot to the entrance? These are all things that have to be taken into account to ensure a smooth process for the audience and to ensure that all their needs are being catered to, that you get them into the venue as fast as possible while also maintaining order and not inspiring chaos to people. And yeah, of course, you have to get them in a timely manner in there. Next up, the core event, of course. The show must go. Food, drinks, toilets, most important things ever. They need to be clearly signed so people know where to find them. There need to be enough of them so we don't get big queues around. And people need to be able to walk to and from them easily without having to stand in queues, bump into lots of people, and make that a quick journey so they don't have to go half an hour that way and come back just for a hot dog and a cup of coke. Of course, you have to take into account smokers also, especially in closed venues. You have to make smoking areas for them, and they need to be accessible and plentiful. Again, same story. You don't want them to be walking around an hour just to find a place to smoke a cigarette because then they're already angry because they don't have their nicotine, and you're going to be even more angry that they have to make like an hour's walk from an end to another just to be able to have a drag. Seating, people flows, and zoning, very important. If you have seated areas and you have standing areas, you want to split those audiences apart because you don't want them to commingle. Some people have seats, some don't. People have paid more money for one of the two. You don't want people to do the whole switcheroo. So you want to have separate entrances then and make sure that those people flows don't, how do you call them? Collide. Yes, that is the word. And then, of course, you have to make sure that the people that are searching for seating can get to it easily. So then, signage again is a very big word in the game. Everything has to be clearly signaled. People need to know where they're going and how to get there easily and efficiently. So basically, conclusively, the layer model is a tool designed to anticipate and remediate flaws in the customer journey preemptively. Basically, again, what this means, it means that they get from their home, from their bed to your venue. Every step of the way, you're mapping out how you can influence them, and if you want to influence them in all of these steps, with the goal of making it as easy for you and as easy for them to get to the event, and that the event runs as easily and uneventfully as possible. Moving up, we're going to be talking about the dim ice model. The dim ice model was developed from the analysis of accidents and incidents from around the world, understanding the design limitations, the information elements, and the management are key to understanding how to influence crowd behavior in places of public assembly. Well, basically, in this context, these are going to be the three dimensions that we're going to be working with. Design, information, and management. Design means capacity, throughput, limitations, floor plans, choke points, bottlenecks, whatever. So it's basically the area. Information is how you communicate with the people. Social media, signage, PA announcement, news, uh, security, police, letting people know different things, and such and such. And then management is basically processes, procedures, staff, people that work for you and how they handling these events. Um, the phases, the three primary phases of crowd behavior are ingress, circulation, egress. This is gonna be one axis of the analysis. Then the other one was gonna be the three influences on the analysis, design, information, and management. Sorry, the three influences on the crowd. And then there's gonna be two crowd states, normal and emergency. In this context, A matrix is created. On the top level, it's the three stages of an event, and then the three main influences on a crowd. Following this, basically in each stage, you discuss the flaws that an event has within each of these dimensions, in the influences, and then depending on the um, severity of each of the cells, you color code them green throughout red, green being the most safe, and green and red being the most dangerous. And of course, same process being worked out for the emergency section. This, for example, is one of the dim ice models that I've worked out for Ahoy. You can see this is in the normal state, and then we have same three influences and same three stages of an event. For example, you can see in the design moment during ingress, there's concerns about the capacity of people sitting in the plaza. Plaza not quite as big as potential people flow. People clogging at crosswalk, and people flowing to each other in the outside plaza. These, I've counted them as quite severe because they clog traffic in case of emergency, and not just in case of emergency, but in case all the people come at once, you can't accommodate all of them, and people continue to bump into each other. To me, these were glaring weaknesses, so I color coded them red to signal the fact that these have to be remediated as soon as possible. For contrast, look at, for example, egress management. So to come back to the past ones, those were all design flaws because they were all handling how a place was designed, not about information and not about management either. But for example, now look into management egress. Lack of security during egress on the outside plaza, and a cultural taxi problem. Well, these are basically staff issues. Um, Basically, not enough security. This is staff because, of course, we didn't hire enough people, and of course, there's a cultural taxi issue. This is again issue is with the taxi staff. It's not with how we communicate to people, and not how about how we design an area. And also, these sit in the yellow area because they might be issues, but they're not as big and dangerous as they could be. Conclusively, the DMS model is used to identify the severity of issues in different stages with the crowd across in different stages with across an event. Basically, flaws in design, information management across ingress, circulation, egress. Identify them where they are, how severe they are, to be able to also remediate them in a later stage with some recommendations. Moving on to the ramp model. This basically stands for route, area, movement, and people. Route is very much like the in the layer model, the steering part. So basically, how people are gonna get to your event. Is there gonna be traffic? What the model split is? How many are coming by car, train station, public transport, bike, taxi, car, pedestrians. Important to know because you need to accommodate all of these cars if they come all by car, or you need to know where the people will be coming from. Of course, is there gonna be traffic? What time all the movement is happening? This might also be taken into account during planning an event. Are there gonna be any accidents? Is there any construction going on? Again, any public events? Basically, same things I've said during the steering part. You want to take all these into consideration when you're planning an event to be able to either plan around them, provide alternatives, or just move the event to avoid them in the first place. Area, know your space. This is basically all about the venue where the event's going to happen. Venues never change, just events that run through the venues, those change. So basically, know your space. Where you're going to put the ticketing, where you're going to put the security. After that, where you're going to place the facilities. Placement might differ on the people, but I'm going to cover that a bit later. Where the bars are going to be, where the smoking areas are going to be, how people can walk to those areas, where you want choke points if you want any, bottlenecks if you want any bottlenecks. If not, how to make sure you don't have any, of course. What your capacity is exactly, how many people can you fit inside the venue, so the density of people. When things become dangerous, also identify the potential dangers. construct an evacuation plan, of course, and of course, again, the facilities where they are and what never not. All of these have to be taken into consideration to make sure that an event is safe in the first place. Movement. After the event, people get into your event, how are they going to move about? This is a sketch that I've used from Ahoy last assignment. Basically, you can see people flows across the parking lot entering the arena. Entering the arena and the RTM stage. This is all about people flows. Again, bottlenecks come into discussion because they're important. Do you want any? Do you want to make slow? Do you want to have a lot of people on one side and then slow trickling down on the other one, or do you just want to get them as fast as possible out of the way? Emergency plans. Again, routing and signage, very important because the people won't know where you want them to go through if there's no signs telling them that. And of course, the origins and destinations of people flows, understanding that, for example, in case of flow A, those are all the people that are coming from the train station. So they have to cross, and then the amount of people that there's actually going to be in that people flow. Yes, finally, coming down to people, you have to know your audience. Who is actually your audience? What people are actually going to be visiting your event? What is their behavior? What's their expectations? Do you have special requirements? So basically, audiences differ for events. Are you going to have a metal show? Well, better be ready to treat split heads because of mosh pits. Better be ready for a shitload of beer drinking, and be ready for a very vocal and hot. Energetic audience. How do you prepare for that? You get more beer, more water. You cool the place a bit down, put some more AC in, and you're basically halfway there. Are you gonna have K-pop fans? Well, they're gonna be moving also, but they're not gonna be drinking that much. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna give them the space to do their weird dances with their batons. Maybe you're gonna hand out a couple batons to people so they can choreograph and yeah. But you know they're gonna be very, very eager to meet their artists and idols. So be prepared for people to jump on stage or across the barricades. Basically, this means get a bit more security to be able to uh, how to call them contain them. Rednecks, are you gonna have like a country event? Okay, be ready for alcohol, some disorderly conduct, maybe, couple punches, a violent community, heated people, so to say. So again, a bit more security. Maybe watch the bars, tell them to quit, to not serve as much alcohol as possible. Do a bit of redirection. The whole idea is that you have to understand the requirement of your audience to be able to accommodate them in an efficient way. And of course, different audiences have different requirements and things to watch out for. Again, for example, house, techno, EDM fans, generally speaking, especially with raw, hardstyle, the newer genres, they're gonna have a lot of drug use. Don't no, not much use for buying a lot of beer, but be ready to have to be prepared for some overdoses and to cool people down because they drink a lot and dance a lot. Pardon me, because they dance a lot because they don't really drink. So have some ice packs ready to cool them down. Is your audience going to be patient? Are they going to take a bit of, can they take a bit of waiting, or are they going to be explosive and unpredictable? Again, take that into consideration. Planning for symphonic music enjoyer is different than for MMA watchers. Of course, one of them is going to be way more violent than the other one, so be prepared to contain them in case violence breaks out. This was the ramp analysis. So, conclusively, with the help of models and theories such as the layer model, ramp analysis, and dim ice model, we can create events that are safe and well optimized for audiences, while also being seemingly effortless and seamless for the same people. Basically, we want the people to feel as comfortable as possible, and to feel that and make them feel that they are accommodated and that all of their needs are being catered to avoid safety issues as well as other unhappiness. Additionally, we want to keep them safe, and to keep people safe, we need to understand what they are prone to do, of course. Make sure areas are designed safely. Make sure proper evacuation routes are in place. Make sure you've identified your biggest risks with the dim ISO model and you're prepared to tackle them in case of emergency, or that you've already solved them preemptively coming to the event. Make sure you connect with your audience through the layer model at each step of the journey to influence the choices that they make to suit you the best as possible. And make sure you have conducted a ramp analysis of your own event to ensure that you know how people are gonna come, the area that they're gonna be moving in, how they're gonna be moving into that area, and that they're being well catered to. Thank you very much for your time today. My name was Andrei Ognean, and this was my knowledge clip on crowd safety and crowd control theories and models. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very fine day.